Hi everyone, Mike White here. Welcome to this week's blog post. This week I want to take a few minutes of your time and talk a little bit about something that's near and dear to me and something that I've talked about quite a bit, but has become even more important, at least as far as I'm concerned, the last few months as volume and opportunities continue to rise. And that's me spending a little bit of time today talking to you about making the case for quality. Our industry has almost always leaned harder toward the numbers, and that the focus of literally everything people had done was focused on quantity rather than quality. Units and dollar volume took precedent all the time, and it's really only in relatively recent terms, the last few years, maybe five or so, that inside the confines of largely social media, that some originators have really taken the quote unquote five-star review as serious a target and as serious a commitment as they do their units and their dollar volume. And right now, with a huge demand for loans, some originators have forgotten completely about the quality of the client experience, and almost feel as if the client and the referral partner should be happy that you just managed to close the loan. In fact, it has been discussed that some have actually told clients and referral partners that they should be happy that they were able to close this loan in a certain amount of time, or that they got this to the table, or even had one person explain, a manager nonetheless, to a realtor who was told the day of closing, was supposedly of closing, that a loan was supposed to close, that not only were they not closing that day, but she just had to understand that with all the refinance volume that was out there, that things were just backed up a little bit, and they were going to have to wait. And so, as scary as that sounds, it seems to be true more times than not, that there are people out there who are more concerned about units and dollar volume than they are about the quality of the customer experience. And what I've always tried to share with my clients, and for those that I've been able to speak to live, is that I believe our focus as originators has to be about the quality of the client and the referral partner experience, and to take a page out of the Ford Motor Company playbook, that the quality of the experience is really job one for us. And many have heard me say that things like the rate isn't great if the closing is late. The reality of it is, it is important that you realize that the quality of the customer and referral partner experience now is even a bigger advantage than it has ever been. In fact, clients and referral partners are actually seeking out mortgage professionals who provide an exceptional experience and a flawless process. And the quality of that experience is leading to even more quantity of quality business for those originators who have paid attention to the quality of that experience and made it their obligation, if you will, from the beginning of the loan process to earn that five-star review. And so the bigger point that I'm trying to make now is, it's loan originators that have the ability to control their quality, and understand that if they were controlling their quality, ultimately it would save them time. Not only would they be providing a better experience for the client and the referral partner, but they put a lot less stress and strain on themselves, as well as their processors, their assistants, their underwriters. And it's really important that we think about that. The bigger point now, that quality has never been more valuable, and mastering this process, and I do mean mastering the loan process, really comes down to a few things. Setting and understanding expectations. It's no good just to tell a client something without understanding what their expectations are, and you explaining to them how realistic those expectations may be. Same thing holds true with your realtor referral partners. Loan officers control whether or not they issue a pre-approval and how much work they do, how much documentation they require, what mechanics they get by, whether or not they run it through automated underwriting, and making sure that they're doing full document pre-approvals and the value of those full document pre-approvals before sending it out. Because if that work is done, you're 90% of the way to a closed loan. And that once that contract comes in, you're just some data entry away from turning that over into processing and really streamlining the process for both that processor and the underwriter that has to review the file. And with that said, fully understanding that you're not helping anybody, you're not going to do a great job for you or your team members by turning in a really cruddy file into processing. If you've got a file and it's not fully complete, I mean, at this stage of the game, you know what needs to be in that file. You know that you need to have done the math. You know what you're supposed to do as an originator. So turning in a file to your processing team that isn't fully complete and fully documented, you're only opening the door to slow that processor or that assistant or that underwriter down. And managers, you have to have the wherewithal, you have to have the position and the authority to instruct your processors not to submit files into underwriting that aren't complete. There's no reason, unless there are predetermined conditions that everybody agrees to in advance to submit a file to an underwriter. You should never submit a file to an underwriter that you know is going to get conditioned. I mean, think about it. You want the underwriter approving credit, or do you want them spending day after day, hour after hour, sending back conditions lists that now the processor has to go through, talk to the loan officer, chase more documentation, resubmit, and play this game round and round? You're only blowing up your own capacity, your own ability to do more dollar volume. Oddly enough, doing a better job leads to doing more. And originators, they really need to know that an incomplete file is going to be suspended or even rejected because it consumes too much time. There are companies out there right now who are penalizing loan officers and branches in the rate environment because they're taking too much time. People sending in files that are getting 15 and 20 conditions and 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 resubmissions. Who, are you kidding me? You got to know better than that. You got to know your job better than that. You're wasting everybody's time. So keeping conditions to a minimum. And granted, I understand that there are sometimes things you're not going to know until you get other extraneous material, but that should be the only thing. There should be no surprises when it comes to the documentation or the numbers or the program or the eligibility of that client. Resubmissions that are complete. If you've got a conditions list, don't send it back until you got everything. They should never, ever, unto themselves, supply documentation to an underwriter that they now have to recondition for other things because of the information you sent in. I mean, think about it. As a loan originator, what is it you get paid for? Would you rather your processor chase conditions or submit the next file into underwriting? Do you want your underwriters clearing conditions endlessly on the same file over and over and over again? Or just approving your loan and moving on? At this point in time, anyone originating loans should really know what is needed on every type of file. If they don't, then they need to learn pretty quickly. And the good news is there's enough opportunity for inexperienced loan officers or marginal loan officers or loan officers who are not getting right to shadow those that really know how to put together a file, who know how to pre-approve, and maybe spending a few days or a week with a more experienced loan officer or with their manager, or understanding how to do this, or even pre-approving a bunch of dummy files until they get the hang of how to do it correctly. Because the reality of it is none of us in the industry right now has the time to waste on things that should have been taken care of. The reality of it is right now, you may never see opportunity like this ever again. You may never be in a position to do this kind of business. So why not maximize the number of loans that you can close, the number of opportunities that you can take advantage of, the ones that you can generate, the relationships that you can build, because you're focusing on the quality of the experience, not on the quantity of the loans that you do. As always, questions or comments, Mike at imtcoaching.com. And I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Take care.